Hey there, good Friday night, and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph, and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So it is, after all, Friday night, so it's Friday Night Live. And today we're doing a live experience on an album that was my first album and one of my favorites, my favorite live album without a doubt. And that is this one, Kiss Alive. Fantastic album. I love this album. So I was a huge Kiss fan, and that started my rock journey. Before that, I had a few songs by a few bands. I think I might have had one by Black Sabbath. I think I had Hot Chocolate's You Sexy Thing. I had a few other things, and also included in that were a couple of BTO songs, Quick Change Artist, and another track from that album, which I think could have been You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. That could have been. Anyways, doesn't matter. So this album was my first ever purchase. I purchased it at we were living in an apartment above a laundromat in a kind of a strip mall. Not really a strip mall. It was just a series of stores at the bottom. And none of them were really notable, except for the very corner one was a record store selling used records. And I remember immediately noticing that when we moved there, but I never had any money, and most of my money went towards comics, which were the big thing for me at the time. Because at that point in time, in 75, 76, I was 11, 12, and was a huge comic fan. I've got about 1,700 of them, all located in the corner there underneath that plant thing. Anyways, some people have been asking to know a little bit more about me, so there you go. There's a little bit more about me. The other thing, too, is that I went into the record store just out of curiosity, and right at the front you had a little record display. It was like one of those kind of Italian-looking metal bar type things, and on it was three albums, and the one right at the top was, you guessed it, this one. And I thought, what is that? Being a superhero fan and liking monsters and monster movies, like the Godzilla thing was big with me at the time too. I gravitated towards this. I said, I gotta listen to this, right? So I saved my money for 2 weeks, and I went back, and hey, he still had it, and it was probably, I'm trying to think of when it was. I was 11 when I moved there, so that would have been 1975. I think it was in the summer after we moved there, so it might have been like early 1976. So the album had already been around for about 7 or 8 months. Obviously, somebody had bought it and didn't like it and had turned it over to him. So it was in really good condition, like almost brand new. And I paid my $7.99, I think it was, or it might have been $5.99 because it was used. I think it was $5.99 actually. That's what I remember. And so I bought this album. It was the first ever album I had ever bought, and it was a double album, as it still is, a double CD. In this case, I've never actually had the original copy of the album. I gave to my sister along with my entire vinyl collection when I moved out of my home. I'm probably talking about 130 albums at that time. Vinyl was on the way out. Mine were not in the best condition because I wasn't really good at taking care of anything, and I didn't want to haul them along with me, and so I took my cassettes with me and a couple of 8-tracks and gave my entire vinyl collection to my sister, which included this album. And I've since got this album on CD, which I like quite a bit. It's still my favorite Kiss album. It's one of my 10 favorite albums of all time. And so we're going to talk about it tonight. So it's a live album, supposedly. That's what it was supposed to be, a live album. Whether it is or not, I'm not really sure. I've read a lot of stuff about this being a recorded album that they added live effects to. And, I have to say that this doesn't really surprise me all that much, considering... Sorry, I got a part hanging from this hat that's kind of distracting me, so I'm just going to pull it off. Anyways, what was I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So anyways, whether it's a live, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Kiss put on their albums that was a lot of stuff excluded from their albums. A lot of stuff that Ace Frehley was allegedly played and did not play, and then there's pictures of Peter on albums that he wasn't on, and then there was pictures of Ace on albums he wasn't on. So it's hard to believe what they say. And there's bass. Gene was given credit for bass and some of the stuff, and he was never on that either. So, anyways, I don't really want to get into that. The album itself is fantastic. So, of course, it's Kiss Alive, the double live album, featuring featuring all songs from their first 3 albums. This is kind of weird because their first 3 albums really didn't sell that well. They weren't big sellers by any stretch. And then to make a live album, which was unusual at the time, on songs from 3 albums that didn't do that well, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I would have had the guts to do that, but they did. They were very gutsy, if nothing else, and flamboyant as hell. Anyways, featured on this album, Gene Simmons, vocals and bass, Paul Stanley, vocals and rhythm guitar, Ace Frehley, lead guitar, and Peter Criss, vocals and drums. Okay, so that's the classic Kiss lineup. Album was released September the 10th, 1975. Coincidentally, my daughter was born September the 10th, 2001. Very coincidental. Released in Electric Ladyland Studios in New York City. Length is about 78 minutes, which was probably pushing it right to the edge with the twin albums back in those days. Casablanca, of course, and Eddie Kramer was the producer. So we're just going to go over some of the tracks. Now, I have the tracks originally written here in the sides, album vinyl sides, but on the disc they're on 2. So you got sides 3 and 4 on disc 2 and sides 1 and 2 on disc 1. The album opens with Deuce, Deuce was a song that they used a lot originally as an opening song, and then they switched to Detroit Rock City. I don't know what they do now. Maybe they do them both. I'm not sure. Fantastic track. One of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. Gene Simmons is at his best vocals on this song. Real heavy tune as well. This whole album is very heavy for Kiss even. This, at that time, they might even have called this heavy metal. They might have. To me, it's hard rock now. Definitely a hard rock. I don't really think of it as heavy metal. But this could have been considered a hard rock album, because there's no real kind of ballady songs on this particular album. This was their original form before they started in with Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun, and then did their Kiss Alive 2 to that. So Strutter, next song by Paul Stanley, another great song. I've heard this Strutter, I think it's Strutter 78, that was released later. This is just one of the heavy songs on the album. It was at one point my favorite on the album. Then they go to Got to Choose, another real kind of grinding, heavy song. Love this song quite a bit, another Paul Stanley one. Hotter Than Hell, another Paul Stanley. A song that they played a lot early on, but I don't think it gets much airplay now. Still a great track. And then, of course, their classic Firehouse with the siren, and Stanley with his little plastic fire helmet, fire chief helmet. I thought it was cool in the days. Kind of funny now, though. Anyways, then you flip. That was the side 1 on the original vinyl, and on disc 1, it's the 5th song. The next one out, Nothing to Lose. I love this song. I think this is the one that has the vocals with Peter and Gene. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that they both do vocals on this. Or maybe it's just Peter. It might be just Peter, but I love this song because Peter Criss just nails it, man. The guy just has that voice for this kind of music. Boy, I wonder what he would have done if he'd stayed making this kind of music instead of that ballady stuff he decided to do. Come On and Love Me, that was the song that took over from Strutter, became my favorite on the album. Played it a lot. I wouldn't be lying if I said that I played every song on. I probably played this album 1,000 times in the first couple of years that I had it. Not without a doubt. I think it was because I never listened to anything else but this, and then I started listening to Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over as well. So between the three of them, I was playing them all. The other ones I didn't get till a little bit later. I think Hotter Than Hell I got from the original ones I got. The other two I didn't get till I was old, like an older person, much older. But those three, played them all the time. This was my favorite, of course. Then after that comes Parasite, which is currently my probably favorite. Maybe not, but it's right up there with one of my favorite tracks on this album. It's an Ace Frehley special. I love it. He doesn't sing on it because he didn't sing back then, but Gene, I think Gene is the singer on this, does an excellent job singing the song. And then the last song on side 2 on disc 1 is She. I like this song. I like every song on the album. It's not one of my favorites. It's not a song I listen to much and haven't for years, but it's still a good song. Now we go to side 2. Watching You. My favorite, maybe my favorite Gene Simmons song. It's just such a heavy, catchy song. I love this song. I even like the studio version, which I believe is on Hotter Than Hell. Just a fantastic song. 100,000 Years, that has the infamous Peter Criss drum solo. Paul Stanley singing vocals on this, of course. It's the longest track on this or any Kiss album, I believe. I think this, let me look. I think this track is like 10 minutes plus. I can never quite remember. Yeah, 11:59, longer than I even thought. I remember the first time I saw it, wow, that is an incredibly long song. But, I wasn't into progressive rock or any other music at the time, and this was the album that I played all the time. Next track features another Peter Criss. Starts out with Paul Stanley singing the softer part at the beginning, and then Peter takes over and he just wails away on this vocally. The man was very underrated as a vocalist. So then we go to the fourth and final side of the album, which features arguably my favorite Kiss song of this genre, like of this time period, and this album in particular. Rock Bottom starts out with that quiet bit, and then the real heavy crashing guitars and beefy sound to it. And Paul's at his best on this song as well. This is such a great song. This, I think, was also written by Ace Frehley. Maybe Paul co-wrote it, but I think it was just Ace Frehley. He tended to just write his own stuff. I could be wrong about that, though, because I can't imagine that they would let him write 2 songs in a row. I don't know. It doesn't say here. I always had this feeling he wrote that song. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, then they do Cold Gin, which is definitely an Ace Frehley written song, and he gets Gene to sing this one, and Gene does a great job. Cold Gin, kind of a slower paced, grinding song, but very empathetic. What's the word? Anthem-like, anthempathetic, or whatever you want to call it. It's a very anthem-like song as well. And then, of course, you have Rock and Roll All Night, Party Every Day, which is their quintessential big hit. This is the song that exploded when it came on this album, but didn't do as well on the Dressed to Kill album, which was just prior to this. But great. It was a great, legendary kind of anthem song for them. It's put them on the map. It's their biggest hit at the time. Maybe Beth is bigger than it now, I'm not sure. But it's a song that I loved a lot when I was young. I played it a lot, but it's overplayed way too much, and I can't even listen to it. Even when I'm playing this album, I'll sometimes skip it because I just can't stand the song anymore. I've heard it way too many times. I never want to hear it again. And then the last track, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll. Same thing with this song. I think it's because it follows Rock and Roll All Night on the disc that I played them both a lot, like together. And I just can't stand that one either. So there's only the two on there that I really don't listen to much, and that's those two. The rest of the songs I still love quite a bit and play quite a bit. Some of them are a little bit overplayed nowadays. Firehouse, Deuce, like a little bit overplayed, but still not to the point that Rock and Roll All Night was. So the album has a huge amount of energy, as you would expect. The cover's really neat. I really like the cover. It's got the little booklet in here, which was, when I see this picture, it's so reminiscent of the 70s and the time period that I grew up in. Just touching right on it, you know. I love the little flashy Kiss logo here. And there's a description. Okay, yeah, Rock Bottom was written by Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley. I thought there might have been a combo there. This is an iconic picture of Gene. I love this picture. And the same with Peter on the drums. Some shots of the band here. I've seen all these before because I've owned the album. And these two are nice, like solid pictures of Paul and Ace. Sorry. And then the little letters, right? Each of them wrote a letter. It's kind of interesting. I remember reading those letters over and over. This came with a poster too. I think the poster might have been this, or it might have been a poster of, like, a 4 poster of all of these two and the other 2 pictures of each of them. I can't remember what it was. My bedroom was wall to wall, ceiling to floor, covered with Kiss posters everywhere. I'd buy any poster I seen. And just the only thing that there was a small section of my bedroom wall that was dedicated to the Avengers, which was the comics that I collected. I had some posters of the Vision and the Beast and that on there, but other than that, it was pretty much dominated by Kiss. They were the only band I listened to, and I love this album quite a bit. Like I said, it's a really heavy, methodic, high energy, great guitar solos, heavy drumming. Even the bass is really forward on this. And to me, my way of thinking, it may be the best Kiss album ever created. Certainly one that I've enjoyed the most. So there you have it, another live experience, one of my own, with a very special album to me. I know there's people out there that don't really like this band at all. In fact, they're one of those bands. I've been talking to somebody about Genesis lately, about how the Genesis had 2 distinct groups of fans, and pretty hard to please them when you're in concert, right? Well, Kiss had that too, but it was different. You either loved them and they were your favorite, or you friggin' hated them and wanted to kill them, And there was enough of both. But I love them, and I love them a lot, and they were my favorite band. And I only listened to them from about, I would say, the beginning of 76 right through to the end of 78, and then I started branching out. I'm not really sure why I branched out. I think it was because they'd done the live too, and then they were working on solo albums. And I think part of the thing is I was worried that they were going to break up and then I'd have nothing to listen to. So I think that had some impact on me, and so I started branching out. And also my friend John had already begun to branch out, so he was bringing stuff over. And one of the first albums he brought over was Styx Pieces of 8, which is currently sitting in the number 1 position for me. So anyways, there you have it. Kiss Alive on the Live Experience show today. I hope you liked this video, and liked this album. If you did, please like and subscribe. Tell me what you like, what's your favorite on this album, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, how it impacts you. Was it something you got into early on, or is it something you discovered much later? I'm curious to see how people came upon this album. I came upon it in a kind of meteoric fashion, and it's, you know, it's still an album I listen to. Like, it's been 45 years, 46 years, something like that, since I got the album, and I still listen to it all the time. I just got it back from a friend too, which is nice. So there you have it. Kiss Alive 2. Kiss Alive, not Kiss Alive 2. We did that one earlier. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll be seeing you very soon. Prog Monster, have a good night. Bye.